Hello, everyone. Welcome to Midweek Gaming. I'm Nick, and over on the other side of the comms, of course, Justin, providing commentary, audio support, and his own version of gameplay. I should have said that the other way around, wherever necessary, because that came out wrong.
Yes.
So another week, another video. This one is about Warframe. For those who don't know, I play Warframe on and off quite a bit. It's like my second go-to. It's like on the list of the three games that I rotate through when it comes to MMOs. Primarily, it's like Honkai stuff, or not Honkai stuff. It's MiHoYo stuff generally because I lump Genshin and Star Rail into the same batch. I just kind of go through with them whenever I need to. Destiny and then Warframe. It's like those three technically four things that I just flop around to whenever I'm feeling bored. And one of those things, Warframe, got a new big update. And it's the Dante Unbound Warframe. And it's the Dante Unbound update. And, well, in typical DE fashion, when they add things, they break things. It's just kind of how we love DE at this point. Something is added, like 19 things break, and we just all kind of collectively sigh and move on with our lives. So, what broke this time? Well, before I should go into it, the new update, for those who don't know, unveils the new frame, Dante, which is an interesting frame. I've heard online that he's actually a big powerhouse, so if you get him, he's actually quite a good find. His passive is the weirdest passive I've seen in a while, in that it casually just adds things to your codex, which usually had to either do manually or through the use of a sentinel. This frame's passive quite literally does that for you, which I guess if you've got an unfinished codex collection like I do, that's very useful. Plus, if you get a full codex scan, I think it adds something else on him. Well, let me check him in the system real quick. What exactly is Dante's full passive? I can find him in the massive list of Warframes. Good lord, what are we on, like 53 at this point? I think it's insane. I'm just gonna search for him. Oh, no, there he is. There he is. We all do this live, so I don't have this stuff in advance, which I probably should in this case, but whatever. So, he scans stuff in your codex for you. Also, if he completes a scan, he increased the status chance by 50% on a fully scanned target. So, if he scans something that's fully scanned, or if he has a full scan already, I'm not entirely sure how that works, your status chance is increased by 50%. So if you have status builds, it's actually quite useful. So that's nice to know. He's not just a codex scanner. But other than, powerhouse. Other than that, a new mission type that got added to the Sanctum, which is basically Disruption, but Sanctum Edition. And that has to tie into the whole lore of the Levirian, which kind of comes with that. DE's own words were they tied the Levirian into this quest to kind of explain why there's no Levirian entries in a while, which, take that for what you will. But anyways, side tangent aside, other than that in the quest, they introduced a new lighting system. A new lighting system. They're rolling it out. For a long time, for those who don't know, there's generally the old way of doing lighting in games is baked in lighting. Basically, it's pseudo lighting. They kind of bake in the lighting through effectively lights inside the actual thing itself. It's not too realistic, but it did the job well. You can actually do baked in lighting really well and looks pretty realistic. I think Red Dead did that Red Dead 2 did that really well. Like there's a lot of baked in lighting there, but it doesn't look like it, so it's really good. They're moving on to a new engine that's not using baked in lighting. At least that's what I'm reading. Forgive me, lighting in game dev is not my strong suit. But, so, they're rolling it out. Your Orbiter, the Drifter's Camp, and your Railjack, not sure if that counted under Railjack missions, have yet to test that, are where this new lighting is first being implemented as they're rolling it out. They're going to tweak it to get it right, and, we're going to go from there. Well, in typical DE fashion, when they rolled this thing out, it works, kinda, because they actually had to come in on Good Friday, that's the federal holiday in Canada, on their off day, because they're in Canada, to make a third hotfix, because yes, we're on hotfix 3 at this point, of this update. In the last, 3 days? That's one hotfix per day. Including today. Maybe 1.5, kind of. No. But anyways, because the fog in the actual new lighting engine, because it comes with a bunch of fun things, including new fog effects, yeah, apparently the fog was causing PS5s to crash. Oops.
Which would be a
Um,
slight problem.
Slight problem. So they permanently disabled that for the time being, and when DE comes back from the long weekend, they'll look into that. But yeah, so if you're noticing your fog suddenly having disappeared, which I got the chance to look at the Helminth room, which looked like it used heavy fog effects before and after, it kind of looks interesting. Like before, it had this very dark atmosphere. Now without the fog, it's just kind of bright in some areas, which it looks nice, but it's got this weird look to it now. But anyways, so yeah, that's why that happened. At least if you're on PS5. If you're on Xbox, PC, Switch, or mobile, or specifically Apple Mobile at this point, then you're fine. I don't even know if the new lighting engine would honestly work on the Switch or or not the PC, the mobile version.
Depends on a few things, but I'd have a feeling that they'd probably have it set to automatically reduce graphical requirements and stuff. Like it'd probably automatically go and turn down the graphics.
Mm-hmm.
It would save on processing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Warframe is an interesting game because of how it's designed intrinsically. It adds itself to these lower powered systems like Switch and mobile because of the fact that it doesn't render in massive open worlds like you would see in something like Destiny or your typical MMOs. It renders in tile sets, and these tiles are very linear in nature. Some are more open than others, but they're generally quite linear in how they're designed. And they're effectively a little maze. And because of that, there's not actually a lot being rendered itself. So it adds itself more to going on things like mobile and stuff like that, because we've talked about this in some other videos, and this is a side tangent, but you'll forgive me for nerding out, because this is something I find fascinating. There's really two ways to add big games, like big budget games, onto mobile with like the way games are now. Either number one, you create a game or you alter a game so that its graphics are pretty bare bones. This is basically Genshin and its subsequent following games strategy, right? They're massive open worlds, yes, but there's not a lot of things in those worlds. It's very specific. So the system doesn't have to render too much. It's pretty much a flat plane in some cases. Or, in the case of Warframe, you have a lot of things rendered, but you don't have a lot rendered around those things. Like I said, the tiles, they have a lot of things in them, but they're pretty minimalistic outside that. So it saves on processing power. So you either go simple graphics or just not a lot of things there, if that makes sense. But anyways, side tangent over, that could be a whole topic for another video. So yeah, they broke the game in that way. Another way is, for those who don't know, they added a Steel Path version, so basically Warframe's hard mode, onto two areas that haven't had it yet. That is the Zariman and the Sanctum. Cool, right? Not cool, because here's the thing. Because of how the Sanctum and the Zariman are designed, there's not just a single instance of Steel Path, so to speak. There's, for those who don't know, in other open worlds, or other ways in general, or actually, probably better to compare to the other open worlds. In the other open world areas they have designed, there's many different bounties you can choose from, and then a Steel Path bounty. That's your Steel Path version. That's it. That's just the one. Because when you look at the actual map tiles, it makes sense, because in the case of 90% of the open worlds, it's the hub area and then the open world area. It's the same tile, so to speak. It's just a giant tile. In fact, that's probably how they did those open worlds. They just designed one big singular tile. In the case of, however, the Zariman and the Sanctum, there's many different subtiles connected to one hub area. So depending on what mission you're playing will depend on the actual tile type you get and the mission type. So instead, what they decided to do is they took basically all of these versions and made a Steel Path version that you can opt into from when you're choosing the bounties. Sounds complicated, but really not that much. Well, the problem is, I guess because of how they implemented it, when you choose a bounty, well, let's say I chose a basic bounty, I have a 50% chance, by the sounds of it, to get booted into the Steel Path version by accident. And you don't know this until you start playing, because for those who don't know, among all the modifiers in Steel Path, the most obvious difference you'll see is that the enemies have 100 levels added to their bar base. So instead of level 50 enemies, you're fighting level 150 enemies, which is, slight problem. And that's not in counting the whole other issues that come with Steel Path, like the acolytes of the Stalker, which occasionally show up to screw with you. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are different in Steel Path when you break it down from minute level. So that's a small problem. Apparently they know of this, but it seems like from what they know so far, from what I've read, there's a 50% chance when you're doing Steel Path to actually get the base version. So when you take it as an entirety, it seems like there's a 50% chance just in general that when you pick one bounty, you're going to get the other. So, I haven't tried it with Steel Path to see if that's a thing, but I'm just guesstimating. So,
you can only speculate.
Because, it's a pretty big issue when you're basically I'm going to fight level, 60 enemies, and you come in and you're fighting level 160 enemies. Depending on how your loadout is, you might really be boned.
Might be a very specific type of difference. Might be. Maybe. Perhaps. Who knows?
When you're fighting Corpus enemies, it's not so bad, but when you're fighting Grenier, well, armor level impacts everything. One of those things being armor. Corpus don't generally have armor. If they do, it's very little. Grenier, they only have armor to replace the fact they don't have shields. So what's the problem with that? Well, long story short, armor implies DR, damage reduction, both to you and the enemy. So for a Corpus that has none, no problem. Their shield and health is larger, but there's many subtypes that bypass it, so you're fine. But when it comes to armor, that's damage reduction, to the point where a grenade launcher starts hitting like a BB thrower. Yeah. It's a bit of a pain.
Noticing differences.
Slight difference. So, good luck dealing with that. That seems to be, from what I can tell anyway, the only big issues that come with Dante Unbound, however, so, arguably not the worst thing in the world. And like I said, the Zeraman and the Sanctum are generally endgame areas anyway. Like, most open worlds generally start off at level 1 and go to, like, level 50 for their bounty range. Both the Sanctum and Zeraman start at level 50 and go to, like, 100. So they're generally end-game areas anyway. So most people who accidentally get kicked into Steel Path like me, it's going to surprise you, but you're not going to be too problemed as long as you're built generally decently and have a decent team with you, or if you're by yourself, you're decently built in general. So by and large, it's not going to be a problem, but you're probably not going to be running endless missions, so to speak, until we get this fixed, because starting from level 1 and gradually building up to like level 50 or 100, yeah, that's fine. Going from 100 and going to 150, that's a bit different. So we'll see. But yeah. Oh, also new fur. New fur apparently got added in with this update. Now our pets actually look, well, not bad actually. The more dense fur pattern, and it's not bad, not gonna lie.
New fur.
I know. Riveting stuff. New fur. Hey, it's going to add to the bunny ears they release in Easter. Apparently there's going to be a permanent version of that which uses the new fur textures and new fur effects, so that's nice.
There you go. Fancy yourself up. The most important part of a Guardian is how they look. And the most part of a Warframe is how crazy and fashion-y they are. When you're going around committing mass genocide of those enemies to the tower or to humanity or what have you, you have to look presentable. You have to.
That's a funny thing. I mean, you saw, Justin, just my base frame when I was walking around my ship. I mean, it has no head. I can do a lot with that. But
Intimidation factor is true.
Intimidation, yes. Look into my dead skull. But yeah, no, it's like I said, generally speaking, Dante Unbound is not a bad update, all in all. It broke the map slightly, or broke the game slightly, as usual, but all in all, not so bad. You play DE, you play Warframe long enough, you're just going to accept these things. Makes me wonder what it's going to be like when Soulframe comes out and what the mess that's going to come with that is. I did sign up for the preludes, but I haven't gotten anything back yet, so we'll see. Hopefully. But yeah, that's Warframe as it stands currently. Enjoy Dante, enjoy the new missions, enjoy all the stuff that comes with it. It's honestly really fun. The new mission type is actually really fun. The exploding necromech, pain in the neck to deal with. If the Demolist Necromechs, I should say, if you know, you know. Yes, they made the Necrolist, the Necromechs bloody Demolist. Why couldn't they have just made like a jacked murmur or something? I don't know. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Which my editor and game player does not, so he's probably thinking, what the heck is he talking about? But anyways, so yeah, that's the show, that's the update. Hope you enjoy yourselves. Thought I'd do something slightly more positive. I mean, I would consider DE's constant glitches more humorous than anything else. We're kind of running with the Bethesda logic at this point. It's not a bug, it's a feature.
It is. It truly is. Don't worry about it. Don't question it. Consume product and enjoy.
Yeah, maybe not that bad, but
it gets there. It gets there.
Not bad. At least DE fixes the bugs. Bethesda's like, you know what? We're just gonna leave that, and we're just gonna.
It's part of the game. It's a challenge. Don't worry about it.
I mean, we know what those giants are like with their clubs back in Skyrim. I haven't played Starfield extensively enough to see all the myriad of bugs that are in that game, but I'm sure there's a lot. I don't know. Maybe you jump into warp speed, you end up in the center of some planet or something. I don't know. But so that's the update. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Unless you, of course, have some closing suggestions. I completely forgot.
No. Besides the fact that people enjoyed a little bit of a miniature Sans boss fight with a taken Kel, or not a taken captain going and teleporting around all over the place around me. No, I think we're good.
Insert music.
It was seriously a music-worthy moment. But yeah, no, it seems like Warframe has some interesting stuff going on with PlayStation, so hopefully all that gets resolved for that section of the player base.
Well, like I said, they turned fog off, so nothing should be crashing.
For the moment. For the moment. All it takes is for them to press one button to turn it from an on to an off, and then back again.
And then back again. We'll see. Come Monday, they'll have to start fixing that. Unless they're not doing Monday. I mean, technically Monday is Easter, but it's not an official federal holiday.
Yes.
They make Good Monday a holiday, but they don't make Easter itself a holiday, which...
Don't question it. Don't question.
Yeah. I'm not gonna start that, because it's gonna be a tangent and a half. But anyways, have a good weekend, everyone. And have a happy Easter. I forgot this is the Easter episode. I just mentioned it. Yes. Happy Easter, and good night.
Enjoy yourselves, and happy gaming.